Frank Dalton sat on the porch of his once warm and inviting home, now filled with silence that echoed of his past. At 68, he was a spry man, still full of vigor, but life had shifted dramatically over the last 2 years. 50 years of marriage to his wife, Eleanor, forged through thick and thin, had ended abruptly when he met a radiant young woman named Lily. She was 22, with sparkling blue eyes and unruly curls that danced around her face. Lily was a vision of youth and passion, a stark contrast to the stability and routine that he'd grown accustomed to with Eleanor. He craved the thrill that came with Lily, and when the opportunity presented itself, he abandoned his marriage with a swiftness he would later come to regret. The divorce was finalized quickly. The children were bewildered by their father's rash decision, but he convinced himself it was worth it for the taste of freedom and desire he had long suppressed. Chapter 2. The Honeymoon Phase. For the first year with Lily, Frank felt alive in a way he hadn't in decades. They spent days exploring the city, and nights filled with laughter and dreams about the future. But as time passed, the initial thrill morphed into an uncomfortable reality. Frank faced the internal tug-of-war between his age and Lily's youthful enthusiasm. They continually danced around the subject of children, a looming specter that cast shadows over their relationship. Lily often spoke about the life she envisioned, a cozy home filled with the laughter of children. Frank, however, recoiled at the thought. He had already raised 5 children. The memory of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and endless school runs haunted him. With every conversation about family, the gap in their ages became more pronounced. Chapter 3. Cracks in the Foundation. As the months rolled by, the bliss he and Lily had shared began to crumble. Tensions escalated as Lily pushed harder for a baby while Frank dodged the topic like it was hot coal. "Why won't you understand? I want a family." "Our family," she pleaded, her eyes filling with desperation. Frank would respond with weariness. "I've already done that, Lily. I can't go back to those days." As frustration pinched the air between them, whispers of discontent grew louder, and their sunset strolls turned into shouting matches. Frank found himself drowning in regret as reality set in. Was this what he had left Eleanor for? The thrill of youth had morphed into a nightmare of demands he was unprepared to meet. Chapter 4. The Breaking Point. One evening, after another heated argument about children, Lily stormed out, leaving Frank seething on the couch. That night changed everything. When she arrived back home, her face was pale, and anger gave way to desperation. "I can't live like this anymore, Frank. If you don't want children, then what's the point?" The breakage in their relationship was palpable. After a few days of silence, during which Frank desperately tried to hold on to their love, Lily delivered the news that shattered him. She had kicked him out. When he asked why, she simply responded, "You're too old for me. I need someone who can give me what I want." With nowhere to turn, Frank wandered into the night, haunted by what he had lost. Chapter 5. The Road Back. Days turned into weeks as Frank tried to figure out his next step. He often found himself outside his old home, wondering if he could find forgiveness from Eleanor. He could only imagine how much she was hurting, but he also thought of the years they had spent together. One evening, after too much thought, Frank approached Eleanor's new house. To his dismay, he found that she had moved on with a younger man named Jason, someone in his 30s, who seemed to possess everything that Frank felt he had lost. The sight of them together twisted a dagger in his heart. Eleanor's face reflected sadness mixed with newfound happiness. "Frank, you need to let me go," she said softly but firmly. "You made your choice." Frustrated and desperate, Frank pushed further, causing tension to grow between him and Jason. In the following days, Jason confronted Frank outside Eleanor's house, words turned to shoves, and in a flash of anger, the younger man struck him. The pain radiated through Frank's body but paled in comparison to the emotional anguish swelling in his chest. Chapter 6. The Dark Revelation. With no other place to turn, Frank reached out to Lily, but the warmth he had once felt was completely extinguished. She was different now, colder and more distant. Their conversations revealed the true nature of their relationship, a facade hiding a darker truth. Eventually, Lily dropped a bombshell that rattled Frank to his core. "I'm pregnant, Frank," she confessed, her voice eerily devoid of emotion. Stunned, he struggled for words, disbelief and dread clawing at him. "Is it ours?" he stuttered, visions of a life he never wanted slipping through his fingers. Her silence spoke volumes. Just when he thought he could reclaim his life, the pieces fell into place. Frank later learned the truth and whispered through the gossip mill. Lily had been dating someone else, a younger man who happened to be his grandson, Matt. The irony twisted within him like a knife. The child she carried was not his. It belonged to the very man he had raised. Chapter 7. Unraveling Threads. Betrayed and infuriated, Frank confronted Matt. How could you take her from me?" he spat, bitterness etched on his face. Matt stood his ground, revealing that Frank's reckless decisions and emotional absence created a vacuum Lily eventually filled. Lily had played both sides, knowing she could manipulate Frank's affection while feeding off Matt's youthful energy. He was too old, and she needed a partner who could handle a family, her precious lie. Broken from the realization, Frank broke down outside on the front steps of the apartment he had shared with Lily. The shadows of his decisions loomed over him, and regret clung to him like a shroud. It was a betrayal on two fronts. Chapter 8. The Final Decision. Grappling with his emotions, Frank faced a choice. He could allow himself to continue living in regret, or he could reclaim his strength and fight for the life he once had. He had lost Eleanor, his children, and the hope of a future with Lily, all because of poor decisions fueled by a misguided quest for passion. Determined to make amends, he sought out Eleanor one last time. He found her in a local cafe, laughing and enjoying life with Jason. Taking a deep breath, he approached her, but this time as a man ready to take responsibility for his past actions. "Eleanor, I messed up," he confessed, tears pooling in his eyes. "I've realized how foolish I've been." Eleanor looked at him, a mixture of sadness and pity on her face. "Frank, we can't go back. I've found happiness and I hope you can too," she responded gently. Chapter 9. Rebirth. Though Frank left the cafe with a heavy heart, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had confronted his demons and accepted the consequences of his choices. The pain of regret would forever linger, but he was ready to learn from it. In the following weeks, he adopted a new way of living. He invested in community work and dedicated time to reconnecting with his children. The love and trust he had lost were not easily repaired, but he was willing to try. As he let go of his illusion of a youthful romance and focused on mending familial bonds, Frank realized that true happiness wasn't found in fleeting moments of passion but rather in the depth of relationships cultivated over time. Though shadows of his past would always be there, he chose to step into the light and embrace the wisdom that came with age, regret, and ultimately, redemption. In the end, love isn't always about age. It's about the connections we build and the lives we touch along the way, finding joy in the lives we've created instead of those we've left behind.